We're going to go ahead and if so you're here for self-care still better together with I'm Van Riper and
I'm Kimberly Galdysz.
Yeah. And I think it's time for us to fully arrive for this session.
Yeah. So welcome everybody. I'm Kimberly and I'm really happy to be here today with Van and you all as we talk about the importance of self-care. And so to do this, a perfect way is let's just spend a couple of minutes fully arriving. So it's a little simple exercise to help us get a fresh start, let go of where we came from and fully arrive for this session. So the exercise is we're going to lift our shoulders up towards our ears as we take a deep breath in. And then as we exhale, we relax the shoulders down. So let's do that together 3 times. Taking the deepest breath of the day as we breathe in and out. Breathing in and out. One more time, deep breath in and out. So just noticing how your body feels now. And this is something that can be done throughout the day, in between meetings or any time that we want to be fully present for our next activity. It's a helpful tool that we can use. So there is a saying by one of the leaders in the mindfulness community, John Kabat-Zinn, and he says that you can't stop the waves, but you can learn how to surf. And that's a really helpful reminder, especially during these times where we're facing many stressors. And it's really important that we stay as centered as possible. So in order to stay centered, we can really learn tools where we bring our mind and our body in the same place. Because as you know, in the shelter in place, our physical bodies is in one place, but we're also, our attention is being drawn in so many different directions, whether it's homeschooling and working from home, staying in touch with family and friends. So how can we really bring our minds to focus on what we're doing in the moment? And why would we want to do this? Well, they showed a study at Harvard in positive psychology, and the study showed that people were most happy when they're focusing on what they were doing in the moment. The study also proved that our minds wander about 47% of the time. So half the time we're thinking about something other than what we're doing, whether it's in the past or the future. So with this knowledge, it's really important if we want to be happy to start learning how to focus on what we're doing. We can take some practical steps. So that idea of self-care is that self-care isn't about escaping from our lives, but it's about taking steps to create a life we don't need to escape from. And this takes daily practice. These things might seem very easy, but the important part is that we remember to do them, as we all know. And so what I like to do at the very beginning of the day is set an intention. May I be healthy, happy, and help others today. And then throughout the day, have self-check-ins where I'm checking in my stress level, noticing tension in the body, and making a plan, even if I can't do it at that moment, of when I'm going to attend to that and give myself a moment to take a breath, take a quick walk in between meetings, get some fresh air. It's as simple as that, and yet it's really remembering to do it. And so I like to keep a little self-care wish list next to my computer, just like a to-do list, and really giving it the validity that this is just as important. So during the day, I'll write down, make sure to remember, get that healthy snack, or make a phone call to that friend I've been wanting to talk to for a while. as community leaders, we're so often focused on taking care of others that we need to remember to take care of ourselves. And there's a saying that I'm sure you're all familiar with about the oxygen mask. And Van has some really strong feelings about this that he'd like to share.
Yes. I even heard David use that expression this morning in the kickoff, and it is a very common expression. And of course, if you're on a plane and it's crashing, by all means, please do take the oxygen mask that drops down. But I'm kind of here to maybe suggest that we might stop crashing the plane so much, and or actually to just reframe it. I'm thinking, instead of thinking about it in this again, instead of escaping the plane crash, let's think about more keeping our tank levels full. Again, thinking it more about as a vitamin, something we're doing to enhance our well-being throughout the day, throughout our lives, as opposed to that aspirin that you take when you have a headache, you know. So and the thing is, that's kind of seems like common sense, like, well, of course I would want to take my vitamins, you know, but the reality is, you know, that when we're stressed, actually we tend to revert to like old behaviors or that aren't helpful for us, that don't lead to the kind of self-care that helps us to fill our tanks. And where that was, it's kind of like Dave was saying earlier, you know, in this pandemic environment, as community folks, we want to help others. And so we kind of get into this helping mode, and we might get to the point where we're not even taking care of ourselves. So luckily, there's some, we're community folks, and another great community person, Rachel Hoppy, she's one of the co-founders of the Community Roundtable. She wrote this great article on culture change and communities, and actually, but the really core point is around behavior change. And the thing is, and this actually comes from the work of Charles Duhigg from The Power of Habit, you know, but of course, we all want to take care of ourselves. Of course, you know, we all know ways to take care of ourselves, but because when we're stressed, we revert to old behaviors that don't always serve us. It's really important to be part of a community of the changed. And that community support is critical. And that is why we are still better together. And I just have to just share that the title for this talk, we actually, Kimberly and I gave a talk in January to the CMX Connect Silicon Valley on self-care, and it was Self-Care Better Together. And I proposed the talk for this event, and they said, well, that sounds good, but you know, I think you need to, you know, we might need to change the title because we really can't be together. And then we thought about it, and we were like, well, yes, we have to be physically distanced now, but that doesn't mean we can't still have community and have connection even in these times. And so it really is still better together. There's actually a Harvard study around this. It's an 80-year longevity study with people that showed that by embracing community, in fact, they found out that the #1 factor that contributed to living longer and being happier was having a strong community connection in your life. And so, you know, and this probably is kind of a no-brainer for this group, you know, that community is important, connection is important, but, you know, we're kind of the shoemakers in community work. And I know they talk about the shoemaker's children, but I'm thinking more about who does the shoes for the shoemaker. You know, so let me just, right. So in that line, what really is important is, and one thing I found to get very practical here is having an accountability buddy. And I just want to say, you know, I think we all know it's not selfish to take time for self-care, but having someone that you meet with on a regular basis to check in on what you're doing for your self-care and keeping each other accountable I can say personally, you know, it's funny, I've talked about this, and we talked about it in January, and then I realized after our January meeting, I didn't really have one myself. And so I took my own advice, and I have a good friend who also does community work. And we started meeting on a regular basis since February, and it's been wonderful. And it's so great because it's really important to have self-compassion with yourself, because you're gonna fail in taking care of yourself, and not to make it worse by beating yourself up. And it's great having that accountability buddy, someone that's a real friend, because we're always easier on our friends, right? And so they're there for me. So like when I'm having a bad week, they can kind of prop me up, and when they're having a bad week, I can help. I can be there for them, and I highly recommend it. Regardless of whether it's a formal structure, just the important thing is your community that you serve is not necessarily the community that will serve you. And so I want to make sure that even though you're very active in the communities that you're supporting, that where is that community that feeds you, and whether that's like with an accountability buddy or a circle of community managers. And that's actually part of the reason why I got involved in CMX Connect, because it was so, I didn't know if I wanted to take on another activity, but being a host for CMX Connect Silicon Valley, I knew doing that I would actually be hanging out with other community managers, and I would actually make connections like I did with Kimberly at CMX Connect Silicon Valley that really feed me. So I really encourage you to, get involved in your local Connect or whatever community of people that can give you support, and do that. So I didn't want to leave out the elephant in the room. Yes, we are in this a global pandemic. And, I picked this image because it reminds me of like the tornado in the Wizard of Oz. And, but we are in these turbulent times. And just like Dorothy, after the tornado, we're actually in this strange, scary new world. And the thing is that my closing message is going to be, before I hand you over to Kimberly to take us home, is I thought it was, to me, the symbolism in the movie The Wizard of Oz is, Dorothy's trying to get home, and that's the whole movie. And then at the end of the movie, she finds out that all along she had these ruby slippers, and that could take her home. Just 3 clicks of the ruby slippers, and there's no place like home. And so my call to action for you is to really think about, what are your ruby slippers? I know for me, and like, so maybe whether it's being in nature, if it's music, art, expressing yourself through art, whatever it is, make sure you make time for that to fill up your tank, and make sure you have somebody to keep you accountable to take the time for that for yourself, because it's not selfish to take time for self-care. That's the only way you can show up as your best self for others. And so again, thinking with that tornado image, it's like, we're going to be in turbulent times for a while now. And it's like, what are your ruby slippers? What's that thing can bring you home to yourself, kind of bring you to the center of the eye of the tornado where it's calm, So for me, it's the breath. So I'm just like, no place like home. No place like home. And again, that not be the thing for you, but this is the thing that we all have available to us. We enter the world with the breath. We leave the world with the breath. It's the one relationship you have your entire life. It's always with you. And I would like to let Kimberly take us home with a breath exercise.
Okay, thanks, Van. So as I mentioned earlier, the Harvard study showed that our minds are wandering about half of the time. And so as we train our minds to stay in one place and come back home to the breath, as Van is suggesting, I'd really like to emphasize that we do this with the spirit like we are training a puppy, a cute puppy, so that we're very patient and notice as our mind wanders, we just keep bringing it back into focus, like we're telling our puppy to come and sit. Again, this is being compassionate as we do these exercises, because it takes practice. But also, again, it's very simple in that we're just going to use the breath as a tool. It's also, like Van mentioned, it's something we can always access. And so, no matter what your tools for self care are, this is just an exercise to get centered and get to a place where we can realize what we need in the moment. So, let's find a seat. If you'd like to participate in the exercise, take a seat and feel your feet on the ground if possible. And as we take the posture for the exercise, it's as if there's a string pulling us from the top of the head so that the spine becomes nice and straight and the shoulders relax down. And I'm going to lead us in a counted breath exercise that will emphasize exhaling a little bit longer than the inhale. And the reason we do this is that the nervous system responds to this sort of breath in a way that helps us to relax. There are different places in the body that we can focus as we're breathing. The first one is feeling the air as it comes through our nostrils, noticing the temperature of the air. And then you might also notice the rib cage expand and fall back into place with the breath. And the one key place I'd really like to point out is the belly. Just noticing if we can feel more breath deep down in the belly as we breathe in, as if there's a balloon inside our belly. As we breathe in, the balloon fills with air. And as we breathe out, the balloon deflates. Again, this is another action that affects our nervous system to relax. So, if you'd like to close your eyes, feel free or leave them open. And we'll all start with a breath in through the nose, breathing in for 1, 2, 3, 4, and breathing out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathing in 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathing out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathing in 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathing out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathing in, feeling the breath fully in the body. 3, 4. And breathing out, releasing any tension. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathing in. And out. Breathing in. And out. And breathing naturally, just noticing as thoughts come, considering them like the clouds that just pass by. We don't need to attach to them. We just stay centered in the breath. Keep bringing our attention back to noticing, am I breathing in? And now I'm breathing out. And on the next exhale, we'll open our eyes if your eyes have been closed. And take a moment now to reflect if there's anything that comes to mind that you could really do to help with your self-care. So using this place of coming home and stillness as a time to reflect and have some clarity around something that you might actually need. And we can all, as we talked about the power of community, use this as a place where we can make a vow to ourselves, a promise to ourselves. We're all here as witnesses that we're going to take that next step that we can to care for ourselves as we're taking care of everyone else. So thank you so much for being willing to participate in that exercise. And now we have a few minutes for some Q&A.
Yeah. I don't know if Valentina's going to be able to join us. I saw one question that I can take while we're waiting.
Okay.
So there was a question about would your accountability buddy get under your skin? I guess that's possible. I think you should be careful on who you would invite to do that. I invited someone that I knew really well. My only concern was one where, again, I was thinking about them. I didn't want to be putting too much of an ask on them because they're also a very busy person. But I was really relieved when I asked that person, I actually view them as kind of a soulmate, not in a romantic sense, but someone that really gets me and really wants the best for me and wants to support my growth. And I feel the same way about her. And, so I do think it's important that you find someone that wouldn't get under your skin. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, I also find too, when I have a buddy, the things that I'm saying to them, I need to hear as well. And so it's almost like I can support that person, but I'm also using that time to hear the messages for myself, so we can, just as we did at the end of this exercise, be a witness for one another and make that vow together. So thanks for that question.
Yeah. Oh, are there any? So I guess I'll just, I'm not seeing any other questions. We're actually pretty much at time. These slides are available. I noticed the comment from Corey about the credits. We didn't put the credits on every image, but it's in the speaker notes. So the credits are there for all of our images. The short link is j.mp/cmx-global-self-care. If you follow us on Twitter, we'll probably share the slides there as well. And you can also follow up with us through other channels. Thank you for giving yourself permission to take this time for this. I find that a lot of times at events, people will choose to go to the other sessions because they don't give themselves permission for their own self-care. So for those of you that are here with us, give yourself a pat on the back for giving yourself permission to do this today. And
yeah, well wishes to everybody. Thank you.